So our first speaker of the day will be introduced by his mentor, Christopher Meehan. Christopher is with the Big Island Invasive Species Committee. They are the GIS analyst and operations planner. They originally grew up in Hendersonville, North Carolina, where they had a great appreciation for the outdoors. And as a young person, began to notice how the outdoors were changing, and have now dedicated their career to documenting that and making it hopefully disappear here on our island. So Christopher, please come up.
And so I, in turn, will introduce Nathan. So the origin of this project was that Fern Forest up in Upper Puna had asked us for some help and better recommendations for controlling yellow Himalayan raspberry. And we actually got some funding through the county council for it. It turned into a whole year-long treatment and monitoring and outreach project. And we thought, oh, this would be a really great fit for a master's student. And so, we asked around, Nathan came on board. So he's been working with us for the entire period of the project, from when we first scouted sites and did the initial plant treatments, all the way through the last check will be, what, next week, 2 weeks? And then there'll be some final community outreach in May. And so he'll have been here for the whole arc of the project. We've really enjoyed having him. He's worked with all the different teams at BIISC. And so over the time that he's been here, he's gotten to do a lot of things, and we've gotten to see him grow and learn. So yeah, you did a good job, man. And we hope you go on to great things, either in Hawaii or wherever you end up next. Thank you. Here we go.
All right, can you guys hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, I think the mic is on. All right, so I did my project on comparing 5 different herbicides on Himalayan raspberry bush, or Rubus ellipticus, in the area of Fern Forest, Hawaii. So just a bit of background first about who I am and where I came from. I just wanted to show off my loving family. I have 7 siblings. I'm going to point them all out. That's Naomi, Sarah, oh yeah, Tasha, sorry. Anaya, Noah, that's me, Owen, and then Brandon, and also some of my loving friends and family. I can't point behind me. That's Russ, and that's my mom, Michelle, and some of my loving friends as well. Hi guys, I hope you guys are doing great. All right, so I was originally from Hershey, Pennsylvania. And when I was a child, I played soccer. Now, some of you guys might be surprised to hear that, but this is one of my favorite soccer fields to go to. But over time, this place changed. There's a stream that ran right along it, and for the entire time that I was a child, this place would flood. So the soccer field was soon abandoned. But something beautiful developed from that. Oh, I hope you guys can hear the sound of just a Pennsylvania wetland. It was so incredibly beautiful, and I would just love to sit right there and just listen to the frogs and just exist and enjoy life. This passion for nature was further cultivated by my family with, I made a pond in my backyard. Now this is a bit of an embarrassing picture of me, but this is me in 2014. My dad found a pond on the side of the road on the highway, and he just lashed it on the top of his Ford Expedition and handed it to me, and we got to work. What I love to do was just go into the woods or go into various creeks and just, I guess, kidnap crayfish and frogs and put them on a pond to just see how they would adapt and grow and develop. And as you can see, it was beautiful. But all of this soon changed. Honestly, it breaks my heart to say, but my favorite spot and that beautiful wetland that had developed there was soon destroyed. In early 2018, I had started my career at Penn State pursuing an undergraduate degree in civil engineering. Obviously, that's changed, but I would consider this day to be that change. This small piece of nature in a sea of suburbia was just completely destroyed. And it is still the same to this day. Honestly, that very much upsets me because I want to be someone that preserves nature for future generations. One of the first jobs that I got while pursuing my undergraduate degree in plant science after I changed was at a butterfly atrium. This was one of my first experiences getting to see the beautiful diversity that this world had. And I got to actually interact with people and teach them what I knew about animals. And it was incredible to me. And this is one of my first interests in that I realized how much I love to do environmental outreach. Oh, okay. So the second thing that I did while pursuing my undergraduate degree was that I worked at 2 different jobs, both of them part-time for an entire year, and they were both at different labs. On the right side, shout out to Jenna, Kris, and Megan, by the way, I worked at a weeds ecology lab where I studied how various invasive species would be affected by climate change. And I can say that this is when I first realized how much, I guess, I love invasive species in a sense. That does sound strange to say. But on the left side is work that I did at a soils ecology lab where I studied various fertilizers and how they affected corn. So up next, I hope you guys aren't afraid of bats. After I graduated, I needed a job after I got accepted into the Hilo. I worked for a year helping bat research. Basically, I would go set up bat nets. And this is one of the first hands-on experiences I had working with bats, or just animals in general. And I was able to explain to people the beautiful diversity of bats and animals. And it was incredible to me. So this leads me to today. So BIISC, or Big Island Invasive Species Committee, is a project of the University of Hawaii. And what they do is they work on invasive species. But they don't just go out there and eradicate the invasive species. They also work with the community. They host tabling events. They go to workshops. They also release information about how to control various species found on the Big Island or the island of Hawaii. And honestly, this is incredible to me. All of these people I've been, it's absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad I picked them for my internship project. So before I talk, all of this is going to seem obvious to many of you, but for my family on Zoom, I'm just going to talk briefly about biodiversity of Hawaii. Now, obviously, Hawaii is the most isolated archipelago on Earth, but this isolation has led to an incredible amount of beautiful biodiversity. From various plants, animals, and more, this diversity is also extremely vulnerable. Threats such as development, construction projects, and also climate change are all threatening the beautiful species that we have here. But the largest threat statistically that is facing native species, especially on island ecosystems, is invasive species. So what exactly is an invasive species? That is an excellent question. So it can be tiered into 3 different environments. It has to be both introduced and cause harm. Not all introduced species cause harm. So that means they have to cause harm in 3 different ways, either harmful to the environment, harmful to the local economy, or harmful to human health. So the invasive species that I focused on and will be focusing on today is Rubus ellipticus, or Himalayan raspberry bush. Himalayan raspberry bush is in the Rosaceae family. The leaves are trifoliate, toothed, and elliptical. And the flowers, if you guys can see right here, they are typically white with 5 petals. The easiest ways, one of the easiest ways to identify it, yellow Himalayan raspberry bush, surprise, surprise, is with its yellow berries. Now, in my opinion, they don't taste good, but I've heard various different opinions. Now, one of the other easiest ways, and what makes this plant so difficult to work with, are its copious amount of red thorns. They can be up to ½ a centimeter long in some places. And this plant is able to grow up to 15 feet high, and it prefers higher elevations of around 1,000 to 2,000 meters, and also prefers higher amounts of rain. So, how exactly is this plant threatening native environments? That is an excellent question. So, in 2 different ways. First off, since it is able to grow in both the understory and above story, it is able to rapidly take over environments due to how flexible it is. It is able to tolerate high shade and high sun as well. And in areas that it is found, it is able to completely reduce biodiversity by up to 80% in some areas. And also it loves disturbed environments. Especially introduced pigs and birds will spread the seeds and disturb the environment. And Rubus ellipticus, Himalayan raspberry bush, will able to rapidly grow in those areas. So the areas that Rubus ellipticus or Himalayan raspberry bush are native is typically in the higher elevations, especially the Himalayas here, and also areas like China, the Philippines, and more. The areas that it is introduced, oh, apologies. Now, a bit of a distinction I want to make is that the areas that are introduced and invasive are only distinct because it is legally considered invasive in those areas. Those areas being Malawi, right there, South Africa, and Hawaii. It's also introduced in California and Florida as well. So, the largest amount of populations on the big island of, or the island of Hawaii is right here in the volcano area. It was initially introduced here in 1961 as both an ornamental and as a fruit crop. But unsurprisingly, it has spread rapidly out of control. There are currently populations found on the Big Island or the island of Hawaii, Maui, and also Kauai as well. The area of Fern Forest is a subdivision in Upper Puna, reached out to BIISC about controlling Himalayan raspberry bush. This is the area right here. The elevation is around 1,700 feet. It gets around 200 inches of rain annually, and the average temperature is around 71 degrees Fahrenheit. So, there has been a large disconnect between community members and also BIISC. The methods that BIISC uses cannot often be used in areas and also residential areas like some of the herbicides and control methods that we use. And often homeowners have turned to inefficient and also damaging methods for controlling the Himalayan raspberry bush. Inefficient methods being like seawater and also vinegar and stuff like that. And also damaging like mixing herbicides, not diluting herbicides, or using multiple dosages where it's not legally allowed to be used. So, BIISC wanted a research objective for us to be able to effectively give these community members that is also cheap, effective, and accessible. We need to be able to give an herbicide that can be used in a residential area, agricultural area, wherever a community member may need it to be. So, just an overall brief overview of the project. The first step we needed to do is to find a property. Since Fern Forest graciously reached out to us, it will be up in there. And we also need to decide what treatments we are going to do. We decided to replicate a study done by George Santos, Charles Stone, and Lisa Stone as well, that has 100 plants with 5 different treatments, meaning that 5 different treatments would be done. One treatment would be done on 20 plants, and then we move on to the next group, so on and so forth. And then after that, we would do recording events 1 month after treatment, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. Then after that, I will be doing outreach. So the first thing that we had to do is actually go out into Fern Forest. In early March of 2023, we toured a few sites in Fern Forest to see where we could do our control. Now, the goal of this was looking for 100 Himalayan raspberry bush with a cane diameter of at least 1 centimeter, healthy growth, and also ones that were not treated before to reduce bias and also interference with our research. So, let me briefly explain the 5 herbicides that we chose. They had to be easily accessible to homeowners on Hawaii. They also had to be effective and easily purchasable. So, the first thing that I want to explain is the difference between organic and triclopyr. All 4 of those on the right side, left side, sorry, are the active ingredient is triclopyr with different mixtures and concentrations of that ingredient. Garlon 4 and Vaseline have been traditionally used by BIISC for controlling Himalayan raspberry bush, and they are proven to be effective. So we decided to use those. Also, we decided to use Stump Stop and Brush Killer Plus, which are accessible on Hawaiʻi as well. Green Gobbler, the difference between Green Gobbler or vinegar and triclopyr is that the active ingredient in Green Gobbler is 20% acetic acid, or otherwise known as vinegar. But vinegar, the culinary vinegar that you find at stores, is often 5 to 10% and cannot be legally used by HDOA standards as an herbicide. So this uses the cut stump method to control Rubus ellipticus or Himalayan raspberry bush, and also we wanted to replicate the Santos 1991 study, which did cut stump method. Cut stump method consists of cutting all of the canes down to either 1 to 2 inches above the ground, and then immediately spraying or painting the stump with the herbicide. This method that we use, instead compared to foliar, decreases the amount of environmental harm that is done and decreases the amount of environmental damage through the surrounding area. So the area that we decided to do our project at, I had to make the area vague to protect the homeowner's privacy, but it is in the area of red right there on the island of Hawaii, and the area in black is the rough area of fern forest. Oh, okay. This is right after treatment. This is one of our cut Himalayan raspberry bush plants after it was treated. And we also went out and flagged them before treatment, so we knew which 100 plants we would choose. So, data collection. In the picture is me counting the number of resprouts that each Himalayan raspberry bush had after treatment. First off, as I said earlier, it would be 100 plants with 5 different treatments, meaning that 20 plants would receive 1 treatment. And treatments was done in April of 2023. And then after that, we would recheck the sites at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months after treatment. The variables that we measured consisted of cambium color, resprout count, and resprout height, the diameter of the root ball to see if larger diameter root balls led to more resprouts and easier recovery, and also light levels. We were curious to see that if higher light levels conceded to a higher number of resprouts. The reason that we chose these was also to reflect the Georgia's 1991 study, and I felt that resprout count and tallest resprout height were the easiest ways to predict how fast these plants were recovering. So in this picture is me taking a picture of the Himalayan raspberry bush. This is the green gobbler treatment 3 months after treatment. As you can see, it is already throwing up resprouts. And the first thing that I did when we went out to Fern Forest was I took a picture of each plant, and then me and my mentor, Jennifer, would go and actually look for these plants. And we counted the highest resprout, the number of resprouts, and then we measured the plant's vigor. The picture on this side is of me counting the tallest resprout to see how tall it was. Now, just to be clear, the data I have is only at 9 months. The next recheck is going to be done in, 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks. But the insights that I've gained from this are actually very interesting. So to start us off, something that I should be clear with is that Garlon 4 and Vaseline had no resprouts. Garlon 4 can be used in forested areas, natural areas as well, in forested areas. But Garlon 4 cannot be recommended by HDOA standards to be used in developed lots and non-agricultural areas like homeowners and highly residential areas. And also Garlon 4 is a costly investment. And Vaseline, the only supplier that I had on the island, it does not carry it anymore. So it is more difficult to access and makes it more expensive. So that means that I'm going to do the analysis on the other 3, Brush Killer Plus, Stump Stop, and Green Gobbler or vinegar treatment. So the first thing that I did was I compared the number of resprouts over time by treatment. as you guys can see, green gobbler or vinegar had the highest amount of resprouts over time. And if you guys can see that it goes up and down for stump stop, that means that some of the resprouts died over time. The only ones, as a reminder, that had resprouts were brush killer plus, stump stop, and vinegar. I still made sure to display Garland 4 Ultra and Vaseline, but they had no resprouts at all. The next thing that I wanted to analyze was the average resprout height. Now, as you guys can see, vinegar or green gobbler had the highest resprouts on average, meaning that it was able to recover faster compared to the other ones, while brush killer plus and stump stop had higher ones as well. Furthermore, vinegar or green gobbler also had the highest resprouts, coming around 15 feet high compared to the 8 feet for brush killer plus and the 5 feet for stump stop, meaning that they had different recovery rates. So this was honestly surprising to me, but the root ball size had no significant effect on the number of resprouts or the height of the resprouts. But the sunlight level significantly affected only the green gobbler or the vinegar treatments, meaning that higher light levels conceded to higher amounts of resprouts overall. This was honestly very surprising to me. But the Santos study did not have any comparison to this because they did not do a study on vinegar or acetic acid treatments, only triclopyr products. So, as you guys can see in this graph, or picture, sorry, the green gobbler or the vinegar treatment led to higher amounts of resprouts. This one right here in August, only 3 months after treatment, had 6 resprouts and they were around elbow height, meaning that it was able to recover rapidly. Compared to Vaseline, which had no recorded resprouts at all and is still dead today. And hopefully in the next 2 weeks, when I do my last recheck, it will still be dead. Honestly, all the insights that we gained, and also I should say that over the time of our project, we kept track within 1 meter of all their treated plants for the natural and the native plants to make sure that our project had no harm to them. And there was no recorded effect to any of the native plants that were surrounding our Rubus ellipticus plants. But the sunlight levels had a significant effect on the number of resprouts, but only for vinegar, while root ball diameter had no effect at all. I was honestly very surprised to find this out. I thought that larger root ball diameters would concede to higher amounts of resprouts and also taller resprouts, but it did not. So, some future directions that can be taken with this is, I think, a long-term study investigating how Himalayan raspberry bush will recover after 2 years. And also, repeated treatments, such as comparing 2 treatments of green gobbler to 1 treatment of a triclopyr product, because I want to be able to effectively recommend organic options and triclopyr options for residential and non-residential areas, wherever it is can be legally used by H2A standards. And also, biocontrol could be an effective option for Himalayan raspberry bush, but a lot of investigation will be needed. So, in conclusion, Garland 4 Ultra and also Vaseline are the most effective, but we must be mindful that it follows the label, because if not, it is illegal to use by H2A standards. But green gobbler does work a little bit, and especially in deep shade. So covering the plant with either cardboard or something like that does increase effectiveness, but it will still throw up resprouts. So multiple treatments will be needed. Also, I will make sure to recommend to the homeowners to make sure to remove all of the untreated plant material so it does not re-root. So, what are the next steps with this project? So, as I said earlier, I have only done up to 9 months of rechecks, with the next one going to be done on April 22nd, I believe. And I'm going to be doing a community presentation early May to recommend to homeowners the various pesticides that they can use on their property, also to make sure that they follow the label correctly. I will also make sure to do recommendations for both organic options and triclopyr, because I want to make sure that these people have options to treat their Himalayan raspberry bush, because it is a big problem. I will also be disseminating information on the BIISC website and also a brochure. So I just want to step back and also talk about my other experiences at BIISC And it was honestly an incredible experience. While 90% of my time was spent on working on Rubus or ellipticus, I was able to go to various tabling events and work with the plant photo program, also the outreach team. And this is one of the events that I went to. I was able to effectively talk to customers and people, not customers, about what invasive species they were concerned about. And able to take that work that I did and apply it to my own. Honestly, an unforgettable experience. So I also want to talk about my various experiences, an incredible amount of experiences that I've had at the Kamehameha Club. I was the secretary, I know it doesn't sound too flashy, of the club, but I was able to help perpetuate such a variety of volunteering events and more. The unforgettable one that I had was the 2025 symposium, also the Women in STEM conference up there. It was an incredible time, and I appreciate everyone that was there with me. And honestly, I just wanted to have this picture of me because I love it so much, and I'm infinitely thankful to everyone. Now, I want to take a step and also thank Lisa Canale for her incredible mentorship and advisory, and just being my advisor throughout my time here. I could not be here today without you, and your writing advice was incredibly helpful as I've written a lot of reports. I also want to thank BIISC, my mentorship organization, for their incredible amount of time, resources spent mentoring me, and it was honestly an unforgettable and incredible experience. I am so appreciative of them. I also want to take a step and also thank Christopher Meehan for his incredible advice with especially the technical aspects of this project. I also want to thank my other mentor, Jennifer Tamariki, for her advice, especially on the field aspect of the project, especially in the Fern Forest area. I also want to thank the best cohort, the 2023 TCBES cohort. And are there any questions? And thank you guys so much. Oh, yes.
Comment, you can't get the baseline anymore, but Carbon Exchange sells something that has the same active ingredient.
Yes, that would be triclopyr 4. Yes, so it is. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head that is a what is the word off the top of my head? It's like a copy, a generic copy of Garlon 4. So yes, you could also use that one.
And also, I've just been throwing them on the ground and they don't seem to be proud. They seem to stay dead. They better stay dead.
That's true. Are you doing, is it in a dry environment or is it in a wetter environment? Because especially if it's wet, it's able to grow epiphytically.
Depends on training.
Yeah, that's true. Because I found that sometimes when I cut it, it still comes back. It also depends on how wide or small you cut them. Yes, Lauren.
So you said Fern Forest is a really green area. Did you look at like the predicted weather?
Yes, and for us to be able to use this treatment, it had to be not rainy before and a bit after. And the way that we applied it, consisting of, immediately cutting and then treating the plant, meant that the vascular system sucked down the treatment or the triclopyr product. Yes, Kelly.
It's part of your report then going to include best practices and actually applying these herbicides so people do it correctly, so it'll be effective?
Yes, I will be doing that, and I will just be recommending that they do cut stump. But I will also be recommending different herbicides and making sure that it follows the legal label requirements for each area, wherever that area has to be, because Fern Forest is dominantly agricultural area and is mostly native and natural forests, meaning that we could use the 5 herbicides that we chose, sorry. Yes, Lauren.
Can you talk a little bit more about the triclopyr products? How are they all different?
So that is an excellent question. So the active ingredient is triclopyr, but they use different concentrations of triclopyr and also different chemical formulations. Any more questions?
Okay, I have a
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So, do they not impact the other plants because you didn't like apply them to an injury on the plant? Like there was lupe around some of those pictures. Or is it more specifically for that?
Could you repeat that? I didn't understand what you're asking. Apologies.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You had mentioned that the native plants weren't impacted
Yes.
by your applications. So my question is why that is? Is it because of the product that you're using or the way in which you did it?
Oh, okay. So I misspoke when I said that. I meant to say larger plants and also woody plants such as Ohia, like most Metrosideus polymorpha and stuff like that. So Oluhe was not, but we did clear a 1 meter radius around each plant. And the way that we treated them, the cut stub method, there is not as much native and also environmental harm because it is in that one little area. Thank you. Any more questions? Oh, yes, Lauren.
So the plant killers that you used, is that pretty common, like the environmental, other ones you said, are those typically like the best for?
I would say, you mean common, like used by BIISC and other agencies, or? I would say yes, because I'm fairly certain that Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park uses garland forest / grassland for their products, but they definitely use strictly for products, which is one of the most effective uses against especially woody and raspberry plants. Noah.
Yeah, Nathan, what are the consequences for homeowners or farmers or land managers not doing anything to treat the Himalayan raspberry?
That is an excellent question. So it is able to just rapidly take over environments. And because of how sharp and thorny it is, it makes it very difficult to do work in there or to walk around, especially to navigate. And it's, yeah, I think so.
Other than making things really pokey for everybody, does it have other harmful effects on the environment?
Well, it does reduce native biodiversity. It depends also on what the homeowner wants, but yes. Do you have a question?
Yeah, that other stuff they're selling at garden exchange, how long does that take to break down in the environment to where it's not toxic to people anymore?
So it depends on which treatment you use. In the soil, most triclopyr products break down after a few days. It also breaks down fairly fast in the sun.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so being involved in the Big Island Invasive Species Committee and learning a little bit about how they conduct their management and go about doing their business. Is there any particular practice that stood out to you, something that you'd like to emulate in the future?
So I feel like BIISC, and especially my mentors, taught me to be, or they were very, that I was in charge of my own project. And, you know, I could take this any direction I wanted. And it gave me a sense of confidence that I honestly didn't have before this. Like, you know, I can do this and I can take charge of it. That was an excellent question, Lisa. So yeah, take charge and confidence.
Let's see if there's anybody on the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Zoomers. Our home audience, if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to raise your hand or put it into the chat.
I see. Can I see who's on there?
Sure.
Oh wait, there's no camera.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yes.
Yes, Kelly.
So the stuff method, I guess for any of them, is it just prevent resprouting or does it kill the roots?
So it does kill the roots because if the plant is not able to send up resprouts, that by all means that it is dead, especially over a long period of time. Any other questions?
All right, well, thank you, Nate.